Amanda's grandmother made sure that her presence was known.
My relationship was haunted. A couple of years ago I was dating this boy who was a little bit older than me, and he didn't have the best reputation. My grandmother, who is very old, made it clear to me that she thought that he was bad news. She would tell me all the time that I'm going to end up in trouble and that I should just get rid of him. As our relationship progressed, my grandmother actually ended up getting very sick and she passed away. And after her death, if I brought my boyfriend over my house to make out with him or do anything like that, really strange things would happen. Like paintings would fall off of the wall and doors would close for like no reason. And I don't really believe in that kind of stuff, but when it was happening to me, I was like really weirded out. And eventually I just kind of started to assume that it was my grandmother coming back from the grave to haunt me and haunt my relationship. So anyways, as time went on, I ended up just breaking up and getting rid of the boy, and nothing like that has happened to me since.
I don't understand why your grandmother had to die first and then come back from the grave to let you know how she felt.
Amanda, I don't buy your story at all.
Well, there you have it. 3 guests, 3 stories, 1 total lie. When we return, I'm going to be sitting with each guest one-on-one to find out what doubts they have and what they really think of the other guests. So stick around for more Secret Lies.
It's just so ridiculous. It's like so ridiculous.
They were getting it on.
Come on, guys. Do I look like I would lie about this? I don't think so.
If you think I'm lying, then why don't we just bring out a Ouija board and ask my grandmother?
We're back on Secret Lives, and we're talking about unwelcome guests. You've met our guests, and now it's time to hear their stories. 2 of them are absolutely true, but 1 is a total fabrication, so you're gonna have to listen closely. Let's hear their stories and the initial reactions to them from the other guests. Matt took drastic measures to get his guest out.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. I had this friend Scott who got evicted from his apartment. I mean, I thought I'd be a nice guy and, let him just live in my apartment for a little while, just till, he got back on his feet. I thought it was going to be a couple weeks. It ended up turning into 4 months. And I mean, he just kept coming up with excuses of why he couldn't pay the rent. Like, oh, I haven't found a job yet. Then he just started coming home with all these expensive electronic things. One time he brought home a DVD player and a bunch of DVDs. I started thinking to myself, I'm like, where is he getting all this money? And finally I just had it. So, me and one of my friends decided to come up with a little plan to, get Scott out of the house. We're gonna act like, we got robbed and, have all of the stuff taken out of the house, my stuff too, just to make it more convincing. One night, I'm like, Scott, let's go to the bar, let's have a couple drinks. He's like, well, I don't have any money. I'm like, don't worry about it, I got your drinks. So we go out and, we have some fun at the bar. We come back later that night and the place is just empty. And, Scott just freaks out. He's like, I can't live in a place like this. I can't live in, such an unsafe neighborhood. Scott ended up moving out, and basically what me and my friend ended up doing is just selling all of his stuff, to kind of as payback for, the rent that he never paid us for 4 months. So, and I mean, to this day, he still doesn't know that it was planned.
I heard your story and I thought, man, you are a vindictive little holy cow.
First off, that's against the law. I mean, anybody that takes somebody's stuff, you're letting him into his house without paying rent. That's not against the law. He's living under your rent. When you take his stuff and hide it, that's robbery maybe?
Josh found out that unwelcome guests aren't always people.
Unwelcome guests come in all shapes and sizes. A few years ago, I was moving into a new apartment. I didn't really know my roommate very well, but he had this ridiculous obsession with finding free things on the internet and newspapers and stuff like that and getting it. And so he found this mattress that he wanted me to get, but he had to work and so he couldn't go pick it up. And so he asked if I could do it. And so I said, sure. So me and my boyfriend, we went over to this place. We picked up the mattress, brought it back home, set it up and everything for him. Thought nothing of it. My boyfriend then went home to visit his family. A couple of days later, I got a phone call from him. He was livid. He contracted crabs. And he thought he got it from me, and I told him, I said, I don't have it. I swore up and down. I told him, you know, you're the only one. I'm not seeing anyone else, but he thought I'd been cheating on him, fooling around on him and stuff. So he ended it right there. I was a little bit freaked out because, you know, I was worried maybe I do have it. And I went to the doctor, checked out absolutely nothing. A couple of days later, my roommate actually got crabs as well. So that's when we found out it was the mattress. Sometimes unwelcome guests can ruin a good relationship.
Josh, seriously? Could it be that you're in denial? You're blaming a mattress. You're blaming an inanimate object that did nothing and thinks it's just infested with crabs. Could it be that your boyfriend cheated on you with your friend?
I mean, were you guys just wearing Speedos while moving this mattress? I mean, were you walking around naked, you know, like just moving this mattress in this apartment? It just doesn't make sense.
Sean found out that a garage can be used for more than just cars.
I know what it feels like to be an unwelcome guest. So this girl that I was seeing was originally from Ireland, and she'd gone home to visit her family during Christmas break. So I had made plans to go over and visit her and her family. I called her the week before and I said, listen, my plans have changed a little bit. I don't want a long layover. Do you mind if I show up a day early? She was like, no, it's no problem at all. Like, everyone's really excited to meet you and see you. I was like, great. So I show up, she picks me up from the airport, we drive to her house. As soon as I walk in the door, her mother freaks out. And I was like, what's the matter, what's the matter? She said, you can't stay here. I was like, what do you mean I can't stay here? She's like, you can't stay here. I'm having a Christmas party at the house tonight. My boss paid me to have the house all done up and it's all decorated and there's just nowhere for you to stay. So finally I was left with two options. I could sleep in her car or I could sleep in the family's garage. I chose the garage thinking it was going to be a better option than the car. Little did I know that I'd be sleeping on a makeshift pool table with blankets and pillows from her brother's beds in a garage that was made of concrete and surrounded by ice machines, because that's what her father just happened to do for a living. So here I am in this freezing little cooler surrounded by ice machines, freezing my ass off with a bottle of vodka. The mother comes out and says, listen, I don't mean to be a pain, but if you need to come in for any reason, call me. And if you need to go to the bathroom, you can sneak in through the window and I'll keep the door locked. And I'll never be an unwelcome guest again.
Sean, what kind of moron is your girlfriend?
Sean, the thing that's confusing me is why didn't you stay at the aunt's house?
Well, there you have it. 3 guests, 3 stories, 1 total lie. When we return, I'm going to be sitting with each guest one-on-one to find out what doubts they have and what they really think of the other guests. So stick around for more Secret Lives.
A sleazeball.
Okay,
That's just, you know, not just from looking at him, because just looking at him I'd say he's a sleaze.
But instead he ended up looking like a you know.
I had absolutely no worries that my boyfriend was sleeping with my roommate.
Let's leave the mattress out of this. Let's bring the roommate and the boyfriend together and really see what's going on.
If you think I'm lying, your opinion is an unwelcome guest.